Hi, everyone. Welcome to Married Meeples. Today, we are bringing you our top 7 all-time favorite card games. Now, a card game, by definition, is listed as any game that uses playing cards as the primary device with which the game is played. So what that means to me is that is a game that uses only cards, no boards, no tokens, no any other various pieces, just cards, with one exception.
If you want to know what that exception is, along with the rest of her list and my list, even though I haven't said anything until now, then go ahead and stick around after the break, and we will give you 14, not really, we have some crossovers, 10 really good card games. All right, so here we are about to give our top 7 card games. But since this is card games, we decided we wanted to do a giveaway. So we have partnered with 25th Century Games, and we're going to be giving away a copy of Fika. If you're unsure what Fika is a small 2-player only card game about running a coffee shop. I'm going to put a link right up above. We actually did do a playthrough of this on the channel, so you can kind of see it in action. But there'll be a link in the description, pinned comment. I don't know, look below and you'll find the link to the contest where you can do multiple entries. We will also have it out on our socials as well. So thank you for 25th Century Games for helping us by giving us this copy to give away to you, the viewer. So before we get into our 7, I want to give a couple honorable mentions. Technically, it's one honorable mention that covers a vast array of games. And that is something that you're not going to see here. And that is any trading card game. So I used to be a big Magic the Gathering player. It's not going to be on here. I kind of just excluded trading card games. The one newest one, though, I would recommend if you're looking for something like that is Altered TCG. I covered that, I believe, in our top games of all time. It's a really cool trading card game where you actually are dealing each other damage or battling each other. You're basically trying to have the most points or the most health, whatever, in various territories to move your people together. It's a really cool concept.
Tug of war.
Yeah, kind of a tug of war, area control type of mechanism. So that is my honorable mention I want to give is Alter TCG. That's also letting you know, like, Lorcana's not going to be on here, Star Wars Unlimited, any other Disney property that they decide to make a trading card game of, not on here.
Pokemon.
Yeah.
Magic. Yeah.
So yeah, none of that's going to be here. But I believe you have an honorable mention as well.
I do. I do have an honorable mention. It is a very, very old game. I think it was one of the first games that we bought when we went to Gen Con, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's probably
2017. No.
Before that.
No, yeah.
We've probably had this game for over a decade now.
Yeah. So, and it's very, I haven't been able to find it anywhere but this, but that is Escalation. That was one of our, like I said, one of our first purchases from Gen Con. First time I went.
Probably the game we've played in the most different locations because we brought it with the restaurants, we brought it with the breweries, we played it everywhere.
On vacations. So it's a very simple game, very quick game, but it does escalate a lot. And it's one of those that I always seem to win quite a few times. Maybe, I don't know if that's why I like it, but
who knows? Maybe we'll feature it on the channel here soon. We've never actually done it on the channel. So yeah, maybe this is a good impetus we needed for that.
There we go.
Because that is the one thing I will say, looking at our list, is all these games I'm pretty sure you can easily get. So I think that's kind of why we made sure that was an honorable mention, is because I don't know how easy that is to get.
Yeah, and I know that's one of my actual favorite games to play that.
So, but that was a long preamble. So let's go ahead and get into number 7. All right, so here we are with my number 7, and my number 7 comes from a company that normally you don't think of for small card games. You think of them for story games, and that is Isle of Night from Red Raven Games. This is one that completely snuck under our radar. Next thing I know, I look, I'm like, oh, they have a new game out called Isle of Night. We like their games. Let's go ahead and grab it. This one's a cool card game where basically every turn you're going to be flipping over 3 cards, and then you're going to take all of one type of card to put into your tableau, and then you're going to score that at the end of the game based on various things, like pairs of certain things might score a certain way based on the island cards you have. Treasures are worth a point. There's certain locations that change things. there's just, it's a massive footprint for what it is, because I think there's like 12 or 14 different types of cards. So as you're flipping over, you're making all these piles, and then you have the whole piles in front of you. And I kind of just like that element of trying to figure out, what are you going to go for this time? What's going to come up that's going to motivate you to go this way as opposed to that way? And then same thing with your opponent, trying to play off of them. Well, they're grabbing all the scarab beetles, so maybe I'm going to grab the spiders. Or I think the one time I focused on just getting all the magic stars, which gave me some points at the end, and I was able to get something else that helped build off of that. So there's like some crazy card combos in there. Very quick and simple play of just everyone flips over 3 cards and takes some cards. So you don't have these hands of cards to maneuver with. You don't have all this weird terminology, and every card basically says exactly what it does. It's just a really quick, smooth, easy implemented game. Like I said, just something different from Red Raven Games. They have some smaller games out there like Rome, and Haven's a small 2-player one that uses cards, but it's not card specific.
Yeah.
And this one is. So, you have any thoughts on it?
No.
All right.
Pretty good.
All right. So moving on to your number 7.
All right. So my number 7 is Ohanami.
As far as I know, that's how it is.
Okay.
Ohanami.
Ohanami.
That's what I say.
This is a card game that a lot of numbers involved.
120 cards, I believe, 1 to 120.
Yeah, and it's basically you're trying to make 3 columns of cards and put them in ascending or descending order, however you
want to look at the column.
Yeah, but you can't put anything. Once you put a card out, you can't put anything. Or when you put 2 cards out, you can't put anything between those 2. So you kind of got to manage how you're going to put the cards out, the numbers. You don't want to get too far of a gap. And you also don't want to get, too many in one column, in one row. So it's one of those that it's manipulating that, and you're passing, and your hands are never always the same.
Yeah, because it's you're drafting the 2 cards, so you're getting that whole drafting thing where the ones you pass on might not be there when you get it back.
Right. So if you're planning on it, it's but this is one that we play a lot with the youth. They really enjoy playing it too, so that's a plus. It's kind of hard to get some of the games to the table with the youth, so
and especially the games we normally get with them are a lot lighter fare. This one at least has some depth and some strategy and some maneuvering and scoring in it.
Yeah.
So
that's my number 7. It's Ohanami. Not sure who it's from.
Pandasaurus.
Oh, Pandasaurus. Okay, we like Pandasaurus.
We do.
We like Pandasaurus games. Yes, we do. Okay, so number 7 is Ohanami for me.
All right, so my number 6 card game is The End of the World. And that is Doomlings. So you'll have seen a lot of coverages coming up have been on the channel lately. It is one that we got, and we were very impressed with just the fun nature of it, along with the strategy element of it. If you're not sure what it is, you have a hand of cards. You're going to play a card. You're going to stabilize. At some point, a catastrophe might happen. Now you might draw less cards.
Wait, a catastrophe might happen?
I mean, it will eventually, but
it happens.
Not all the time, though.
It happens.
Yes, but there are age cards too. Fun things happen. Some of the traits interact with others. There's actions that can do it. So it's a game that is deceptive on the outside. Looking at it, you're going to think it's going to be more cutesy or take that, or not a lot of depth to it. It just looks very party game shallow. Whereas when you actually get into it, like I said, you have this strategy. These certain cards want to maneuver with these certain cards. This card's going to give you points if your opponents have this, if your opponents have that. Or you can play it to your opponent and give them negative points. So there isn't just the whole like, ooh, look, we're goofy and fun. They added some strategy depth into it. And into that, there's a lot of cool expansions. Like we have the Imaginary Ends expansion. Then those really change the way stuff does. There's the one that does a suppress action. That if you're familiar with Wingspan, same thing, you're going to be tucking cards. They're the Magical Merchants. So now those give you awesome powers. and more ways to score points. So they keep advancing the gameplay and don't just leave it, just basic. There is ways of maneuvering
the same thing over and over, just different cards. There's more.
And even with that, there was
elements.
like over 100 cards in the deck. And at most, you're going to play 12 rounds. So like you're not going to see in a 2-player game a lot of the cards.
No.
So it still already is able to keep fresh and different. And I mean, the artwork is cute. That's not a hindrance. The quotes on them are funny. It's a well-produced game that you aren't expecting from that package or the look of it.
Yep.
So that is why Doomlings is my number 6.
My number 6 is Gifts of Tulip. No.
Oh, there may or may not be an S, but either way,
Gift of Tulips.
You're giving someone some tulips.
It's Gift of Tulips by Weird Giraffe Games. This is a fun game. I really enjoy playing. It's one that, the artwork, I think the artwork's beautiful. There's the 4 different types of flowers in it.
4 different types of tulips. 4 different color tulips.
Sorry. Yeah. Oh, they're okay. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're all tulips, just different colors.
Yep, the tulips. Yes, so there are 4 different colors of tulips. So the cards are artwork is very pretty. I enjoy that not necessarily the trump card in it, but it's the way to get points is always changing. The same flower, the same color isn't always what's going to score the most. So you can, unfortunately, if you have a bad draw, you're not stuck with those being the lower points. There's ways to manipulate so that you can get maybe the type of tulips that you have, you can get them up there more points.
Yeah. So basically what's going to happen on your turn is you're going to draw a card. It's a tulip, and you're either going to give it to your opponent for their pile, and that's going to score you points a certain way. You're going to keep it for yourself. That might score you points a certain way, depending on where the tulip is in the realm, or you can add it to the display.
To the festival.
The festival. And that's going to maneuver the colors around, because whatever has the highest value is going to be first and so forth. So that's what you kind of means. Like if you make this value now higher, this one's moved around, this one moves down. So now you can get more points for that.
Right. So, and it's not a mean game either. It's
you actually get rewarded if you give your opponents the higher valued cards, you get more points. So it actually kind of rewards you if you want to do that.
Right. Now, this is the one exception, because for the most part, the main component is cards. It does have a token for each color of tulip, but it's not the main source of what that token is for. Token is basically for the scoring. Just to remember how much the tulips are worth. So
you can play without those. The only tokens you have to play with are the ones that keep track of your score.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not, the token is used, it's not directly influencing the game of cards. Yeah. So that is the exception. That is why I put it into my list of favorite games.
Because after we played it, I looked at you, I'm like, do you feel like you played a card game? You're like, yes, I felt like I played a card game. At no point do you think that token really took anything away.
Right.
So
my number 6 is Gift of Tulips by Weird Giraffe Games.
All right, so before we get to my 5, I'm going to go back to her 6. I will say Gift of Tulips was number 15 for me. I enjoy it. I like having a hand of cards, and that one is you're just drawing them. But overall, it is a good card game, so I do not besmirch you for your pick. Anyways, to my number 5. My number 5 is from Grand Gamers Guild, and this is Pass. I don't know, it's all capitalized. I'm just going to scream it. This is a ladder climbing shedding game, I believe they refer to it. Basically, you're going to have a hand of cards, and you're going to be playing out cards, and your opponent's going to be playing out cards, and the whole goal is to get rid of your hand first. With pass, though, you get tokens. This is my token exception. You just had hers, now we get to mine. And what those tokens can do is those tokens can flip your card. And when you flip the card, it's got a different number. A lot of times it's the counter ones, like threes, I think, is almost always jack. Fours is always 10. I may be doing the numbers wrong, but it's something roughly that where you can flip them and then they make it. The interesting thing with this one that initially bothered me, but I quickly got over, that still is a hiccup to you, is that you need to follow what the person played out. So if I played out a pair, she needs to follow with a pair, unless she plays a 4 of a kind or a 5 of a kind. So she can't jump up to a 3 of a kind to beat me. She's just got to play a higher pair. Or you can then use that pass token instead of flipping your cards. You can use it as, I think it's an upgrade or something to that effect. Augment. Yeah. You can augment it so her pair of 4s is with an augment, so that's one better than my pair of 4s. So I know that was the hiccup you had. That initially it took some doing in my head, but I got over it a lot quicker.
Yeah.
So it just, to me, there's some fun ladder climbing games out there that this was definitely close with coming up. Like there's Volanomo from previously mentioned 21st Century Games. That's another ladder climbing one with an interesting mechanism. But to me, I think pass with the tokens and flipping the cards and all that is one that just hit well for me with the flipping of the cards. Maybe it's because you can't easily do the flipping of the cards, so it gives me a advantage that way. That may be why this pops up over Volanomo for me. But yeah, I know it's just something about the quickness of it, and that, yes, that token, there's a couple those tweaky rules, but there isn't a lot of rules overall. It's literally just play the things, follow what they lead, use that to upgrade. Done. Like, there isn't anything extra added on. There's no fluff. This is like bare minimum that they could do with that one tweak.
Straight cards.
So,
and like you touched on with my slight little issue, that comes from like escalation, where it starts out as one card, you can play 2 cards, which is higher, 3 cards. So I think that's where I have the issue with it, is I'm used to doing the
not being constrained.
Yeah, where I can do 1 card, 2 cards. It doesn't matter. You could do 1 card and I could put 5 cards, So I'm used to doing that.
Well, in this instance, you could, but I get your point.
Yeah. So I mean, but no, I enjoy that game too. It's a pretty fun game. Like I said, I just didn't make mine because I can't wrap my head around that.
Alrighty, so that was my 5. Up to your 5.
All right, so my 5 was actually my number 1 all-time favorite game.
Spoilers. If you didn't watch that list, now you spoiled it.
Sorry.
Not that good. I lie, it's number 16 for me. But go ahead.
All right.
Then I'll counterpoint.
Okay. So this one is Oh My Goods by Lookout Games. Again, I like drawing cards. I like using cards. And this is what you do, is you use the cards as resources. You use the cards as money. You use the cards to
put out other cards.
Yeah, so it's you're playing with a lot of cards all the time. So that you're using those cards to turn them into resources to make other things, which would give you more cards to
make the cards more valuable.
Yeah.
Like turning your coal with your wool into like shirts. And now instead of being worth 1 money, it's worth like 4 money.
Right. So you're using it as, like I said, the resources, your currency, your
basically a constant churn of cards, whether it's in your hand, it's down on the table, it's the display to let you know what you can spend.
Yes. And if you give me a card game where I can draw cards, I'm drawing them. There's a large deck in it where you're always constantly drawing the cards.
There was the 2 expansions that we got that plays through a story and adds even more
Yeah.
cards and character powers.
It's the
And
campaign, and that I liked that part too. It was, you had that campaign, that story, like you said. So it's not just, okay, it's a game, it's a board game, or just the same thing over and over. There was a point to it. So I did like that too. But so for that reason, that's why I liked number 5. Oh my goods.
so, like I said, it was number 16 for me. And the main reason is because when a game of this goes bad, it goes really bad to where you aren't able to get the stuff, or the market is too much of a flux of you could be playing it and all of a sudden all those suns come up and you barely have anything and you can't mitigate it at all.
Yeah.
So that's honestly why it is my number 16. I still enjoy it. I still play it with you. It's just, like I said, that's what kept it out of my number 7.
Yeah.
Obviously, I like Gift of Tulips one more better. So, anyways,
I
that
guess.
was our 5s. So we are on to number 4, and I think number 4 might give Escalation a run for its money for the most locations we've played it at, and that is Gap.
Yeah.
So this is one that you basically have a hand of cards. There's going to be a display out here. You play a card down, and then you might take cards from the middle. If you can't take cards from the middle, the card goes in there. You're basically going to take any cards that match that color or that number. If there are none, then you're going to take ones on either side. So if I place a 6 and there's no 6 out, I'm going to take the 7 and 5 if it's there. The whole goal you're trying to do, though, is you are trying to have a column with no cards or a low number and a column with a lot of number, because your score is going to be your biggest column minus your smallest column, and that's going to be your points. And then if 2 columns are tied for your longest and one's your shortest, you're going to add those 2 longest up and subtract your shortest. However, if you have 2 that are tied for the lowest and 1 for the longest, you're going to add those up, which could give you a negative score, which happens to you a lot.
Yes, it does.
This is one that in there they say, play until, for a short game, I think it's like 15. For a medium, it's 25, and a long might be 50 or something. There's some weird numbers.
Yeah.
We don't abide by that. I have a Google Doc that's going right now that's just a running score of every time we play it. We just throw one in there. So if we only get around to a hand or 2, that's all it gets entered into there. So we're not tied into those 15 points.
Yeah.
So kind of like how we do with Rummy.
Yep. Rummy, we just kind of take it and keep running. That's how we are with Gap.
So I like, even though I do have an issue with the game of as your hand dwindles, you're basically being played by the game. Like, at some point because you're not drawing any cards, but it is then that whole trying to figure out at the beginning how you might want to puzzle out your hand. Like, hey, because I think in a 2-player game, there's only 3 colors.
Yep.
So if I have 2 6s in my hand, I know there's only one more 6 out there. So I can maneuver around how I want to maybe get that 6 back, or how I want to maneuver the cards. So I think that is why, even with that issue of as you play down, you run out of options, it's still that, well, as long as I puzzled it out, that should be fine.
Yeah.
So that is why Gap is my number 4. Your turn.
So my number 4 is our first crossover. Number 4 is Doomlings.
From Doomlings.
Yeah, Doomlings from Doomlings. So which was your number 6?
Yes.
So we kind of touched on it a little bit. There's not much more to say, but I don't know. I just really like Doomlings. I like the fact that, with the cards, you have that hand and you can always play the cards down. I do kind of wish that it was more than just the 3 ages.
Eras.
Era,
Yeah, it's
ages.
8 cards, it's eras.
Yeah.
I always get mixed up on that too. So
yeah, so I did, because you only have, the 3 eras.
Yeah.
Until a catastrophe hits, and then once that 3rd catastrophe hits, then that's the end. Well, sometimes it seems to go a little slower. I would like to try doing the big, huge one with all of the expansions and all of the catastrophes. And
Yeah, we've
mages.
talked about basically just using everything, getting it all set up, all different areas, and just
Yeah.
going. We'll probably have a trade pile of like 80 cards.
Which would be awesome because there we go with the drawing, and the deck would be like this big. So yeah. But like I said, touched on it earlier. Number 4, my favorite, Doomlings.
Like, you're a sucker for the art and for the funny sayings, where it's
Yeah.
not just a card to play a card; it's got entertainment value as well.
Yeah.
So.
That and the fact you're drawing.
All right,
a lot.
so let's move on to our number 3. So my number 3 game arrived a number 2 early. And that is because my number 3 game is Toucan. Toucan is, I was originally going to say it about you with Ohanami, but Toucan, I think, is the game. I don't know if we've ever played it 2 players, maybe once.
No, I think we've played it a couple times,
But yeah,
2
so
player. But
between Toucan and Ohanami, it is definitely one we've played 3 player the most of, because this is another one that we play with the youth. They absolutely love it. This is probably the best game I got from Origins a couple of years ago.
mhm.
I brought it home. I thought it looked kind of cool. Didn't know much about it, and it's become a favorite. So basically, you're gonna
family
have 8.
favorite.
Yeah.
Family favorite.
You're gonna have 8 cards in front of you. 2 of them are face up. On your turn, you're going to draw a card. You're going to choose if you want to keep it and replace one of your cards, whether face up or face down, or if you're going to discard it. If you discard it, you got to flip over a card. Unless you only have 1 card left face down, then you can choose not to flip over a card, but still discard. Your goal is to try and get as few points as possible. If you have 2 of the same number, 1 above and 1 below, that scores nothing. If you get multiple pairs of that, then you start scoring negative points. And things like -5, -10, -25, something.
15, if you get 4. Yeah.
Yeah, so
20.
but you can start getting there, so you can start getting negative points. You also want to maybe try and get your opponents with lots of points. That way they're higher and getting that gap going. You play over 5 rounds, lowest score wins. Ha! Not highest score. Take that. And it's one that you can easily play and socialize. There isn't a lot of, I want to say there's
Deep
not a lot
thought.
of, I want to say there's not a lot of thought, because it is trying to maneuver the cards, but it's not something where you're going to be looking at a hand of cards and strategizing. You're not going to be really trying to maneuver stuff around and switch out from here and there. It's literally draw a card, choose where you want to put it, place it down, and go. So I think that's why it's high for me, is more of the, not emotional, the more sentimental reasons.
Yeah.
Because it is one that we can always grab. Like, we typically do game nights. Even not on game nights, the youth will be like, hey, we haven't played Toucan in a while. Can we play it? So, and it's a simple game. I mean, we just got it for my stepdad and his girlfriend this past Christmas, so they can play it, and they can play it with her grandkids and such. So it is one that can easily bridge age gaps.
Yeah, and it's you can play with young kids and older kids, older adults. I mean, it definitely transcends.
It's basically you're trying to color match and just choose which card you want to discard, because there's no rhyme or reason. Like, you can look like, oh, I want to maneuver that card, although there is strategy to it. When you flip over a card and you get a Toucan first, I didn't even touch on the Toucans. You get a Toucan, you flip the card under it. This one doesn't, because a Toucan is wild. So if it's a wild over a 3 and you draw a 3, that Toucan flies to another number. So you need to know what number you can replace it with. But she doesn't like doing it. I don't understand why. Anyways, I've rambled too long on Toucan.
Too long and Toucan.
So we are up to your tree.
All right, so my number 3.
Tweet.
Yep. Flux by Looney Labs. This is Flux games are just
chaotic fun.
Yes, it is just chaotic and crazy, and I love it.
It's one you have to experience to
Yes.
understand the depths of madness that can happen.
And I love the fact that there's so many. It's such a variety. They have educational fluxes. Yeah.
Fluxes.
So you like chemistry flux. You've got astronomy flux. You have
math,
anatomy.
You say chemistry,
Yeah.
astrology,
spelling. I think that's
word
word.
flux. Just came
So-
out this week. If you watched this when this went live,
Yeah. So I mean, you've got all those, plus you've got the pop culture. You know, Batman, SpongeBob.
Batman's hard to get.
Oh, sorry. But Cthulhu. They've got, you know,
Stoner flux, drinking flux.
drinking flux.
So even if you want to attend more adult orientated with it.
Yeah, pirate flux, fantasy. I mean, there's such a wide variety of themes. And can't forget the newest one, other than word flux, is Winnie the Pooh, 100 Acre Woods flux, which actually brings a new rule where you can play with plushies. So I mean, that is, to me, that is really, really cool and interesting. And yes, but going back to the actual game, you know, it starts out very simple. Draw one card, play one card. That's it. But those rules can change on a heartbeat. You can put down, you know, draw 5. You're playing all your cards. You're playing one card. You're, you know, switching hands. Your rules are constantly changing. So it's always one of those unpredictable, crazy games that you can end up. There are some times where it's like maybe you have 1 or 2 cards. There are other times where you can have a hand that's like this thick.
And then you get to play all, and that's just hilarious.
Yeah. There's times you break your head. But yeah, that is my number 3, which is flux. The chaoticness that is flux.
Alrighty, the penultimate card game for me, which means my second to last, which means my number 2 and not my number 1, is a crossover with your number 7, and that is Ohanami. So as you see, Ohanami right after Toucan. Like I said, sentimental reasons, same thing. This is one that we play with the youth a lot. Has that cool depth of strategy of, as she said, trying to figure out which cards to take and where to put them and when to put them in which column, so you aren't getting those large gaps in the numbers, so you are scoring. One of the things she didn't really touch on is that you play over 3 rounds and the scoring increases each round. So the first round, I think it's green cards. And then the second round, it's green cards and blue cards. And then finally in the third round, it's the green cards, it's the blue cards, it's the gray cards, and then it's the pink cards, which get you more the more you have them. So you kind of also want to balance, like, you know, trying to get those green cards early so they're worth more points throughout the whole game, because then they're scoring for 3 rounds and not just 2 or just 1. So really trying to figure out how you want to optimize your score while maintaining that number integrity. So like I said, that's what I meant about it's got a lot of strategy packed into a small card game that normally we don't get when we play games with the youth. Although they're getting a little better. There's some strategic ones we play. But this is the smallest and easiest to get to the table. Quick too. I think we get through most games in 20 minutes or less. Half hour tops.
I think we've gotten to the point where we're pretty much boom, boom, boom. We know what we're doing. Boom, here, keep going. And
it is actually a game I think we're almost out of score sheets on it. So I'm gonna have to probably laminate one or photocopy some. But yeah, normally we don't get that much through the score sheets, but this is one that we are running close to being out of. So she covered a lot, so that is all I am going to cover for my number 2 of Ohanami, so we can move into her number 2.
And my number 2 is a crossover with his number 3, and that's Toucan.
Ironically for you, right on time, seems you're always late. Toucan's gonna do number 3. All right.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I'm with you with the sentimental reasons. We pretty much kind of touched on it there with the with the youth playing that. It's that in such a simple, easy game to play. I taught my best friend, not saying that she can't understand it, but I was able to teach my best friend how to play it very quickly. So it goes pretty quick. Uh, you can sometimes kind of shaft your opponents if you want to hurry up and go out, leave them stuck with lots of points. If you really wanted to play mean, but we usually don't play mean.
So that kind of shows like the variability in it too, is that you have the different play styles. You can play mean, you can all play nicely. Even sometimes when you think you're going to be mean and leaving with a bunch of cards, sometimes they flip over the right cards and hey, look, I didn't score as many points as you thought I was going to because they lined up well.
Yep. So nice, quick, easy game.
Well, I think too, we really enjoy the parts. Like I said, when you replace a card, that card goes to the discard. So then when it's a toucan, or when you set someone else up and everyone's just like, no, why would you give them that number? Or if you're not paying attention, that happens a lot too. Just trying to get rid of the big card, you gave it to them, they're like,
oh, you've got 3 of them already. Yeah, poopers. So, yep, my number 2, Toucan by Amigo Games.
We are here with our number 1 card game.
Yay! 1.
So your 2 crosses with my 3, my 1 crosses with your 3. And if you follow the channel for any amount of time, you will be no surprise to know that my top card game is Flux. For a lot of the reasons she said, and it exceptionally shot to the top when, as you will know if you've watched the channel, they introduced solo rules, which means you can play Chaos by yourself. And that's just pretty cool that they were able to implement something that works so well with so many people for just yourself. Basically, you're going to be playing against the rules deck. You flip over a new rule, you go, you try and get a score of as many keepers as you can by collecting the goals. Easy peasy. And then kind of like you said about how Winnie the Pooh one has added the plushie rule. The fact that they do keep evolving it even more. They have like now the educational line and word flux adds there's so many keepers, and with there I figured out there's 3 of them that you can technically have a tie with in regards to gold, but then you just keep playing until someone wins. But with word flux is it delves even more, like have a 4+ letter noun or be able to make this word, so it isn't just the basic flux anymore of just having these couple of keepers. And as she touched on, all the different types, so along with the pop culture, because you have the different Star Treks. And not just the Star Treks, but then they release a bridge pack so you can intertwine the Star Trek decks. There's Doctor Who. There's Firefly. So they just keep expanding. I know they have a couple more already planned this year, and they just have no sign of stopping.
And don't forget that they have Flux board game.
Yeah, I'm not as big a fan of the board game.
Yeah, and then it's a Flux dice game too, isn't there?
You add dice to Flux the card game.
Okay.
So instead of having the basic rules, you roll the dice, and then that's your draw and play for the round.
Okay, but they're still good.
And
encompasses a lot.
And then with us being a 2-player only channel, they also have Tiny Flux, which was a 2-player only thing. It was like 14 things. The cards were like that big. It was awesome. I enjoyed it immensely. It makes me chuckle. It's not available solo. Unfortunately, I can't play Tiny Flux solo. That's fine. But they also have like the travel ones across America and around the world. And I think one of those you excel at because it's like you can draw and play an extra card if you've been to anything on the current or on any of your keepers. So if you've been in a lot of places, it's like, yeah, I've been there. So you're able to do it. So it's like I said, just the way they always tailor new rules and the action cards to each deck. And then of course the keepers are going to be exclusive to that type of one. So just even though it's the same rule set, it can still feel different with the way you do it. Like that hard to get one Batman. A lot of those keepers give you powers. Like, if you have the utility belt, then you can not have to worry about the limits. They kind of introduced that in Camping Flux too. I think if you have the backpack, limits don't affect you, but that they do keep evolving and changing.
And then with Zombie Flux, they brought in the creepers.
Yeah.
So that's,
couple of them everyone could lose. There's the ungoal that if that's up and it happens, then everyone loses. So like I said, there's always tweaks that they're doing. They're not just, throw a new theme on it and then push it out. They put a new theme on it and then tailor it to that theme. So.
Which I just realized we keep talking about the plushie rule in the 100 Acre Woods, but never actually said what the plushie rule is.
So,
you can play with a stuffed animal as a player. That is just blows my mind.
Basically, the plushie gets a human player. So if she wants to play with an Eeyore plushie, Eeyore gets dealt his own hand face down, and she plays for him. Basically, she would randomly draw a card. If any decision needs to get made, she makes it for him.
Which, if you really are interested in seeing how that plays out, check it out. We have a video. We did We did a playthrough of 100 Acre Woods with Eeyore the plushie. So check it out.
Yep, that'll probably be linked above. If I've run out of my linking limit, I'll put it down below. You'll find it somewhere, or you can search our channel.
Yep.
But that was a lot of stuff on Flux between my 1 and your 3. I think we just spent like half the video on Flux. That's fine though. It's a great game. You'll love it.
It is. Wonderful.
So I guess we have like 30 seconds left for your number 1. Go.
So my number 1 is Fantasy Realms by WizKids. So Fantasy Realms is a wonderful, wonderful game where you are trying to collect cards, and they're trying to match up with other cards. So
or not match up with other cards.
Yeah. So they have, each card has a text on it that wants either a certain amount, you want this card or this card to give you points, or you don't want any of this card or any of this faction or anything like that. So I like the drawing of the cards and trying to not manipulate the cards, but
optimize the cards.
Yeah, and you're sitting there like certain cards want some of this, but then other cards don't want that. So you're kind of trying to figure out, well, which one would be better to score the most points. And you have cards on the table that are discarded that you can pick up. So you're always constantly changing cards. You're never stuck with that same hand, where you can always you can change the cards. And yeah, so that always seems to be one of my go-to games is Fantasy Realms. I will tell you this though, if you play it, you need to make sure that you have the app to do the scoring. Otherwise, it's going to be way too confusing. I think we tried to do it a couple of times without the app, and
it's doable. It's just slow going because you look at a card and you have to look at all the other cards to see if any of that affected it. And then you're kind of just going down the row like that. So the app makes it easier. You punch them all in and it does all that paperwork for you.
Is my number 1 is Fantasy Realms. We'll give you another tidbit of info. It is a big game because you are laying out 13 cards.
It depends on player count, anywhere from 10 to 14. Also, if you have the expansion. So yeah, even though it's a deck of cards and just a hand of cards, you do get a big area going in the middle of the table. So just don't expect to be able to just squeeze this in unless you're really good at stacking and maneuvering the cards.
Yeah.
So this was my number 13. I enjoyed it too. It's one of those ones where you aren't sure what your strategy is going in, but then it might evolve where you might just end with no strategy. I will also say they released a Marvel type version. It's not fully Fantasy Realms. Yeah. It's got some Marvel themes. It seems a little bit lighter because the cards interact, but only slightly. And I believe they're coming out with a Star Trek version as well.
I thought they only interacted with like certain types also, whereas
like this will be a fighting type or a superpower type. So it's basically just looking for the symbols, as opposed like this one might want a certain card or this one with any weather. And it seemed a bit more basic than Fantasy Realms to us. Yeah. So we weren't as big of a fan of that one. Fantasy Realms was definitely better in our opinion.
Yeah. Fantasy Realms has a bigger variety. I guess you could say.
So there you go. That was our top 7 each, which ended up being 10 games for you to check out. Do not forget that we have that giveaway going for Fika. Again, link will be in the description or pinned comment, wherever I choose to leave it. Maybe both. I don't know. I'll see how I feel that day.
This is the actual one you will win.
So, with nothing else to say, we'll get into the rest of the stuff that you can go ahead and do. When you're down there looking for that link, you can go ahead and please like, subscribe, and share this video. You can ring the bell to be alerted as we do more stuff. Maybe that playthrough we said of escalation that may be coming at some point. Also, leave us a comment down below and let us know what your favorite card game is as well. None of that pertains to winning the game, just something that we would think you would be nice if you did. If you want to be even nicer, you can go ahead and check out our Patreon, hit up our Ko-fi, or join the channel with the join button, where you can get exclusive perks like seeing videos early or maybe other member things. You're about to count a bunch of stuff.
I was.
I'm not giving you that many things. Or finally, if any of these games sounded interesting to you, why don't you go ahead and see if they're at Miniature Market? And when you go and check that out, you can use our link down below to where we get a portion of those sales back to help fund this channel so we can keep bringing all these videos to you. Miniature Market, where you can get some card games, I'm sure. They have a lot of stuff.
yes,
She's
they
been
do.
to the retail location.
Yes, I have.
Anyway, so that's...
Actually, I think I've posted those on Instagram.
So you've been to 2 different ones.
Yeah.
I think you were there once and then they moved.
Yep. This is at the original location and then they moved. So
All right.
I don't have those, but I have those. Okay.
All right.
Sorry.
Yep. So that is our ending. Do you have anything to add to the ending?
I don't think so. Just go out, enjoy, play games. Play card games.